Does my life look okay? Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. And this is Keep Your Dream Alive. And it's our first show of the year. And I'm so excited to bring you this amazing guest. We only met a few weeks ago, and it's been honestly like really amazing. We've been chatting off and on. My life has transformed. Soros, you don't know what's happened to me, but I've been, achieving my goals, like pushing myself. So Soros, welcome very much. Welcome to Keep Your Dream Alive. It's so good to have you here. Can you hear me, Soros? Okay, so let's see what's happening to my mic. My microphone. Okay, let's see. Can you hear me? Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? So we're live on air. Hello, everyone. Okay, fantastic. I heard that I got frozen, but I'm okay. And Soros has been logged out and is going to log back in. So while we are waiting for him to log back in, we're just going to chat. So this is Keep Your Dream Alive. I'm just going to turn down my light a bit. I think it's a bit too bright. Let me turn down my light a bit. Okay, good. So we have Soros. I met him a few weeks ago. I think he's back.
Sorry, literally my laptop just went completely black. No warning. No idea what happened.
Oh my God. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. I'm glad I got a new phone, so maybe this is going to be fine.
So, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we just met. How did we even meet? I think I was watching an interview of yours, and halfway into the interview, I said to myself, I need to connect with this guy. I need to connect with him. And straight on, I went into your Instagram, sent you a message, and I caught you at the right time because I think you were in the mood to chat or to talk, or you are wondering, who is this human, So yeah. I'm so happy that you said yes to this show, and everyone who is listening in, I've got tons of questions for you. But before we get into the question, I would like you to just tell us who you are. Who is Tim? Tell us about you.
And I'm so happy to be here. My name's Tim Soros. Thank you so much for the intro, Sita. And just the moment you messaged me, we just connected, and I'm just feeling that more and more as I get into business and really kind of have more feel of like just a guided business journey. We just start connecting, and I've got my DMs open, and for whatever reason, certain people just come in and we start talking right away, and other people we don't. And me and you connected right away, and I'm so happy for that. We've been inspiring each other just for a couple of weeks. I've been grateful for that. And so my name's Tim. I was a CPA. I mean, I don't want to go all the way back, but I grew up in a white picket fence town. I went to college. I knew corporate life wasn't for me, that kind of deal, but just couldn't figure anything really out, up and down, maybe for 8 years, 7, 8 years, and got a little lucky in crypto and lost it all. And then at that time, so I'm 30, 31 at that time, and I knew I didn't want to do corporate. I didn't have that much money, but I finally, something happened to me where I met my girlfriend at the time, and we got pregnant. And I had to get serious. I had to figure something out. And, one thing she gave me, and you heard me talk about this at that time, was she knew I was an entrepreneur and she only encouraged those things. And when I said, I need to go back to corporate life, she would laugh at me. And around that time, we got pregnant, and she said she had a mentor to teach her Amazon. And she's had it in her mind, in her heart, that she would do business with these people at some point, and you should take his call. I'm still pretty, I couldn't get anything off the ground, but I was trying different projects. I thought I was a trader. And at that time, I was reluctant to do it. And I got on the phone with this guy, Paul, and he showed me a video of his prep setup where he talked to me a little bit about Amazon. I'm like, there's no way this can work. And he's showing me that he's got like a whole business in his house. And I'm like, there's something here. This guy can't possibly just make, like, I'm seeing this professional setup in his house. And something about that moment, I looked at him and something clicked, and I was like, I'm going to listen to every word this human being has to say, and I'm not going to question anything. And I remember that feeling, or I've never felt that before. Because I kind of, in the corporate grind, I think one of the major issues is, even if you kind of like some of your work, when you look around you, is there anyone that inspires you, that you want to be? And I was an accountant, and I'm looking around me, even the guys making a lot of money, I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. He doesn't seem very happy. He's got money, but all he's doing is scheduling accountants. And like, that's what he's doing for his life. And like, that's the pinnacle of this corporation. So I never saw any mentors. And now with the internet, and like with, us all kind of becoming closer because of the internet, there's actually mentors everywhere. There's people you can emulate and try to be more like them. And I was super lucky that Paul came into my life. He was my first teacher of, like, he didn't really teach me Amazon. He taught me how to think abundantly. He always just taught me how to think optimistically. I guess I was sort of an optimist, but not really. And he was just like, there are endless opportunities out there, Tim. Every call, we talked for 3 hours, and he would literally, he's talked to my employees now for 3 hours. He will not get off the phone. There is endless opportunity out there. You just can't see it yet. Just keep telling yourself, right now, you've got a little more money than even opportunity. You don't even know what to spend it. Like, you don't have anything to buy because you don't see it. But there's going to be a point where you're going to have more opportunity than money. And I was like, I'm waiting, but I believe you. And I'd say 3, 4, 5 months into my Amazon journey of, he had me going to stores, scanning for products. I was doing retail arbitrage. Just, going to Walmart, going to Target, going to Marshall's, scanning a product, seeing if it can sell on Amazon, see if the sales rank's good enough, see if it makes money. And we can get into the specifics if we want to get into that. But around month 4 and 5, I'm like, suddenly you can drop me into a store and I can find hundreds, maybe thousands in profit any store you drop me in. I was like, this stuff is for real. And from that moment on, that idea that if you just look at something with full faith for long enough, there's opportunity everywhere. I believe that in everything. You could put me in the most random industry in the world, put me in insurance. I know nothing about it. I know, especially if I can get a mentor that can give me one thing that a mentor just gives you is belief. I believe in you. Pat on the back, like a father to a son, to a daughter. You're doing a good job. You're on the right track. And that's enough. Business is not that complicated, believe it or not. We all make it very complicated. We chase activity, we chase busyness, but a lot of business is a very simple math problem. In Amazon, you're trying to find cheap things and sell them at a profit. That's all we're doing. And we're trying to garner the energy to go do that day in and day out, and then eventually find ways to replace ourselves and inspire people below us to do that.
I'm glad you said, you mentioned mindset, and you also mentioned that you're an accountant. So let's talk about the accountant bit. Do you think that because of the experience as an accountant, it made it easier for you to be able to identify profitable products where you went outsourcing?
So my experience as an accountant, and then more importantly, probably as a trader, I traded a lot of stocks and crypto, not even that successfully. But it did give me a taste for risk reward. However, Amazon has a very good risk reward profile, meaning you go and scan, you're just looking for a couple things. You're looking if it's, you don't need to overcomplicate it. Is it selling fast enough? And then are you making money? Does the app tell you you're making money? So you don't need to be this great risk analyst to start. But as I got better at it, I think it did help me excel in that area. But I think anyone, like Amazon, like I said, has a great risk profile, meaning like 8 out of the 10 things you buy, you're probably going to make some amount of money. So whereas like trading and other things in life, like sometimes it's like, you lose a lot of your trades. So that's one thing I love about Amazon is you can get early success and you can work on the core business, which is finding cheap things, and you don't have to do sales and marketing and find your customers and all these things that aren't your core. So Amazon was really great for a starter business owner.
Well, you did amazing well for your first year, because when I read your profile, when you sent it to me, I went, what? What did I just read? And I had to read it again, and I read it again, and I'm like, okay, 1.4 million in the first year, Tim. Okay, so can you tell us how that happened? I know you're good at sourcing, but for a new seller, 1.4 million sounds almost, like a miracle.
So let me tell you first how I did it. When I knew, well, I didn't know. I set a goal to do 1 million without having a single sale. And at first I was like, throw it out there. Man, that feels weird. Like there's no chance, but I'll throw it out there. So it was a dream. But then my brain started putting it into a theory, like, okay, how can I do this? Well, businesses go exponential. So I was like, let's just make an Excel sheet. How is it going to look? How do I get to 1 million in a year? And you don't have to do it. It's not a straight line. If I could buy 5,000 in my first month, and then maybe 10,000 in my second, and then 20,000, like 15,000, and I mapped it out, and it's something like 30% growth per month can actually get you to like those $100,000 months by the end of the year. So I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, if I just improve by that much, I might be able to get there. So then I'm just focusing on the first 3 months, which is just like, I got to focus on the first month. How do I get $5,000 in sales this first month? Well, I got to buy approximately $2,500 in products. So, that's actually, if I go 4 or 5 days a week, that's actually only a couple $100 on average per day. If that, maybe $100 average per day. So if you really break that down, what do I have to do this month? Was that really that hard? I need to get to the store, do my best. And again, first time, second time, not going to be that good, but you're basically packaging in that I'm going to grow during this journey. And I didn't know what I was doing there. I just threw it out there. Again, I threw it away. Like I actually posted it on my Instagram. It's gone now. We've hidden it for now, but I posted it. I was kind of confident. Like I was acting like my future self. I was like, I got this. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't really know. And then it hit, and I like literally, I raised it to 1.4, I think, or 1.2 a couple months in. And then I landed at 1.4, and I just like couldn't believe it. And that was one of the hardest, probably the hardest part of my entire Amazon journey. And if you want to talk about it, we went to 10 million the next year. I would say there's parts that were easier about that. You
did do 10 million in the next year. So I was going to like, the jump between 1.4 and 10 million, that's like, a big jump. You didn't go from 1.4 to 5 or 1.4 to 2 or 3. You went from 1.4 to 10. Mm-hmm. That's like massive Olympics jump in there.
So let me tell you how I planned that. It was even more simple. By the end of the year, at the 1.4, I think I did $150,000 month. And I wasn't really taking into account that that December was anything bigger than the others. But I was like, that means it might have been $200,000 a month. I'm like, that means I'm already operating at almost a $3 million level if I continue these months. So I just need to be twice as good. And then I'm like at a $6 million level, and then a little bit more, and I'm gonna get to 10. So my goal was originally 4 million, and then I was like, wait, it's got to be 7 or 8 million. I'm not even improving that much if it's 4 million. So then I was like, wow, it's actually not that big of a deal. And obviously, there's a lot of things that ended up going into it. And my accounting background, because I was project managing employees, I was keeping track of their time. that really helped me get confidence to hire employees and make timesheets for them and manage them. And that did actually help a lot. And I hope to teach that to students, because what I don't want, and I've seen many times, I love seeing people get early success, but a lot of people head towards that first million if they can get that far, and then they burn out. And because right when you get around that time, you're working your butt off to maintain that million. So on the way up, you got to start thinking like a business owner. How can we get other people doing parts of this for me?
That's true. That's true. So building a team and getting your team to. So I think I can see where I'm going to credit it to your background. You've got the accounting skill, you've got the project management skills and all that. So are you stopping me, or are you confirming?
I want to stop you, because I had this conversation with my mentor when it was all done. And he said it exactly like this. He said, Tim, I want to tell people the reason you were successful is because of your trading. You knew how to manage risk, because you're a CPA, because you're organized. But the number one reason you were successful is because you listened to every single word I said and you executed it. Because I just listened to him all the time. And his other students didn't quite do that. They were skeptical. They didn't go and execute it. Like, I just listened. And then I added things on my own. But really, it was Paul. I needed the brain upgrade of an abundant thinker. If I didn't have that, all of my skills wouldn't have come to help me.
You're right. So one of the things I spotted, thank you very much. I'm publicly saying it. Tim gave me access to his community and his program. So thank you very much for that. I think you actually shocked me when you said, don't worry about it. My team will get you access. And I got all these emails, telling me you have access. Are you okay? Have you found out? Have you done this? I was like, oh my God, I'm being treated like a queen. I was just so happy and excited. So thank you very much for giving me access to your program and your community. One of the things I spotted immediately, I do like to read, and I wanted to get to know you, the man behind the community. So I kept reading the thread and reading the comments. And a lot of the comments wasn't even about the financial success that your clients and students have acquired. It was more about the mindset change, the fact that they met you and you have inspired them to begin to think differently. So I think that that's where you've got it from your mentor and you're passing it on to your students, and your students are achieving big results. Because one of the things I saw, it wasn't just the mindset, but everybody was doing like 1 point something, 2 point something, 3 point something, and they are doing it in very short period of time. And this is not the kind of stories you hear in the general Amazon boards or communities that people start selling on Amazon, and in 2 months, 3 months, they are like doing some crazy numbers. And I was just reading all the comments and the posts, and all of them were crediting the mindset shift to their success. And I think it's important. I think it just made me confirm even more that I needed to interview you and bring you so that you can tell us more about this mindset shift. And I did something. I've got my own declarations, which I read every day now. I read my own declarations, and I kind of, I kind of like add to it. And every day I kind of add to it, and it's been really, good, like making me focused in achieving my goals. And I can see where your students and how your students have come to achieve that goal because of what you do. So tell us a little bit more about the declarations. I've got mine here, and what it's all about, really.
So just for a little background, I had an Amazon community, and I've seen 1,000 Amazon sellers come through, and I've been teaching this for a little bit. I've taught people directly, and I still couldn't with fully 100% confidence say it was mindset. That I said it with about 80% confidence. And I got into some more mindset work this year that completely changed my life, and it has to do with the goal card and Bob Proctor and Think and Grow Rich. And I got to take a microscope and look at my journey, my last 2 years, why I was successful, and then compared to other people. And I developed 100% conviction that the mindset shift, the foundational way, teaching someone how to think differently, abundantly, getting rid of the junk. That was the reason. That is 100% of the game. You have to be a doer. You have to still do things. But 100% of the game to be successful is cleaning up the mind, getting inspired, and moving forward on your business. Everything else you're going to solve. I'm so happy to be seeing like early feedback from students. Like, and it doesn't have to take like, all right, developing your mindset is a lifetime journey, but there are things that can happen in an instant that completely shift your mindset, and you're already going to be successful. So I get shiny object syndrome. I want to upgrade so many things, but something like as simple as getting your goal on paper, getting connected to your heart, what you want, getting your subconscious aligned with that. We're goal-oriented creatures. You do something like that and you read it every morning, every night, and you get attached to this goal. I did not invent this. This is from Think and Grow Rich. There's many passages in the Bible that relate to this. Just having belief and a direction, it just raises your energy, and it gets you'd agree with me that the universe and our subconscious is so much smarter than our little monkey mind that's like figuring things out and keeping us alive during the day. And like, our subconscious, I think you might agree, got you where you are. Like the stuff, the ingrained stuff. So we're aligning our subconscious on a goal. So something like that instantly changed my life when I met my last coach, and it can change anyone's life too. So that's what's incredible about this work. I kind of got off track there, but I've developed 100% conviction that this is the most important thing. Now, it's hard because everybody's preaching it. But most people don't practice it well enough because they're not studying, and they're not ingraining, and they're not set on their goal. They are reading 50 books a year. That's the big thing. CEOs read 100 books a year. I don't believe that. And if they do, they're studying one or two. Because to make real change, you have to keep focusing on one or two things. You know that if you want a real habit. So if you want to change your mindset that, for example, I was just in the barbershop and they're saying, rich people don't want to tell other people how to get rich because then there'd be more rich people. So I had to stop them. I was like, hang on a second. I've actually experienced the exact opposite. The most gratifying thing for a rich person to do is find a hungry young person and give them the answers that they need. There's nothing more gratifying. After you have $5 million, there's literally very little lifestyle changes that change any level of happiness. So the most gratifying thing is actually helping someone. And I'll be done soon, but the fact that, first of all, if he was right about that statement, it does not matter. Your beliefs do not have to be true. They have to serve a purpose. So if he was right about that statement, that there's no reason he should think it, it'd be much better for him to think, rich people are waiting around to talk to me about my dreams and they're going to help me. And you know what? To change that belief that might have been installed over 30 years of his life takes repetition. He's got to be thinking about it. He's got to be repeating it. He's got to be catching it in his mind and changing it to the new one. And he's got to do that. And he's got to put in the work of the mindset work. But you make a couple of those wins, suddenly you go from a person that thinks no one wants to help you to everyone wants to help you. Sometimes then you go from a person that just left the door and has no goal to someone who is magnified, focused on a goal. You're a completely new person in a couple months. And then you start making compounding wins in your mind. You have the mindset to be a business owner, which is simply moving in a direction with energy and inspiration. And in Amazon's case, buying cheap things, selling them at a profit. How can we do more of that? Asking good questions.
Fantastic. So thank you very much for sharing that. You know, my dad actually is the one who introduced me to cards. He had like this stack of cards on his table and he would change it. And, you know, he taught us to kind of, you know, have those inspirational words all the time, you know, focusing on them and all that. But somehow it's like life kind of, you know, causes you to miss your direction and miss how you were raised. And when I came into your community, it's like everything just started coming back. Everything started coming back. And I was like, I think I mentioned to you also that, you know, you just brought me back to the things that my dad used to teach me years ago. And even I used to run a workshop called Vision Activation Workshop where I taught people to visualize, you know, and create vision boards and all that. And somehow it's like, you know, I kind of lost my track, you know, really. And being in your community and seeing all those comments from all those people, and the fact that these people were, when you go into Amazon communities, you hear a lot of moaning and groaning, about things not working out. In your community is a different kind of space. Everyone, is just beautiful. Anyway, credit to you. And I did tell you that I was so impressed with what I'd seen in your community. So well done to you.
Thank you. And yeah, I know this isn't going to feel right for everybody. It's not going to be at the right time for everybody. But if I keep being authentic, this is what I truly believe. I don't care about the growth. Like I want to grow as slow as possible and get the people that, are, this resonates with them at this time in their life, because, we're better as a unit. We're better as a group. If every person is mirroring back, that's another thing that's really helpful to, you're learning this stuff, you're teaching it. If the people that you're teaching mirror back exactly the same, like we're all creating this, in a way, it's an echo chamber of positivity, because there's so much negativity and poor opinions. We don't need all that. We need our mastermind, the people that we speak to all the time, to be thinking like this. So that's my dream, is not only to improve my mind, but to improve the minds of others around me, selfishly too, because they're going to look at me and say, hey, you're off track. You've been teaching me this, and I've noticed this. And an issue with this type of space is it can be related. Positivity is not like the best word. We're really thinking how to think powerfully. And if you're only about positive, ignore all negative, then that can be helpful at times, but you can also get, a little delusional, a little in the clouds, like you're not paying attention. But really what we're trying to do is think powerfully. How can we ask powerful questions? How can we give ourselves thoughts that are heading towards our goals? And I think you can do that in a way where you can still identify challenges, and people around you should still be able to look you in the eye and say, look, I think you're off on this. But generally, our day-to-day is like, how are we feeling today? How can we think of the top 3 things we can do today? Like, what do you think about this idea? I think it's amazing. Like, go for it. That we need that encouragement to keep us going. That's what our parents did to us when we were learning as kids. That's how we still learn as adults.
Yeah, true. So I have the questions here. We're not going to run through them quickly. You've kind of touched on some of them, but I had a few questions coming, like loads of questions. Once they saw 8-figure seller, everybody wanted to find out how he did it. So the first question here is from Breedog. I think that's how I pronounce the name. And it says, how much time did you have to spend with family and still have time for yourself? While you're, how did you create the balance to run your business and still have time for family?
That's a great question. And I'll take you back to when I was starting, and man, that was hard, because we had a new baby. Right when I was starting to get into it, baby was born. My wife, let's say, was very natural about it. So she wanted to, co-sleep, and our schedules were a mess. And my wife at the time, like, she had a very specific diet. We were taking a lot of time to like prep for that, and there was a lot of family need. So I remember a couple months in, I was excited about Amazon, so I was still able to like get it done, have family, but it wasn't sustainable. Like I wasn't getting good sleep. So at one point, I told my mentor I needed to break, and he was afraid that I was going to lose the momentum. But I knew I needed something. And listen, personal and business are completely intertwined. You have to figure out your personal if you want to be successful in business. And I did an exercise. I think I went to a John DeMartini talk, and one word, this is always how it happens. One word, he said something, or one sentence, he was like, you can like timesheet your whole day and figure out like where you're making money. I'm like, okay, that sounds awesome. Let's, like, time is money, blah, blah. I've heard it before, but let's see. I started timesheeting my days and like kind of tracking like how I'm feeling and what I'm making. And, in Amazon, you're making the most if you're buying products, because you're gonna be able to sell those products. Pretty much everything else, you're not making that much on. And I look at my day, and it's like, wake up tired, 5 hours of like, trying to figure out the morning, meal prep, get out the door with like half energy, like, half-ass my sourcing. And I make a timesheet my week and put a dollar amount and energy level in every line. I'm like, this can't add up to a successful business. There's no way. Just the dollar amounts don't add up. I'm not sourcing enough. And when I am, I'm not sourcing at a high level. So I'm going to get to your point. I looked at that and I was like, there's something that has to change here. I'm back and forth on this one, but I do believe, time is really important with your family, but being effective and being happy when you're with and present with the person is even more important. Because I've seen people with their kids that are on the phone for 40 hours the entire week. And I don't count that as a single hour. But I made a decision that I needed some help. We needed to get a nanny or something. And this is still the largest business decision I've ever made. I didn't have the money. I was thinking, I'm like, I can't even afford my Amazon business. How am I going to afford a nanny? But I did a Tim Ferriss exercise. Basically, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And it's really not that bad. I lose a couple $1,000. I tried this. This is when you want to try something new. I'll try this for 1 month, and we'll look at the end of the month. If it doesn't work, I lost a couple thousand, whatever. And if it did, awesome. So for 1 month, we're going to try somebody to come in and help us with our morning. Somebody came in. They woke up, they made us smoothies. She'd help with the baby. I was out the door. I was going to Panera at like 6:30 a.m. I would just do high level business thinking. What's the most important thing I need to do? Then I get to the store. I would crush sourcing. Within a couple of weeks, I had a prep center. I had like a prep center locally that I could drop stuff off to. I won back 20 hours a week. I was prepping at home. I had I hired a retail arbitrage buyer to start training in the store. I created an entire business in like the first 2 weeks of finally getting high value time back for myself. And that more than paid for the nanny. So then I eventually won way more time back with my family.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest business decision I ever made, even with big ones coming now. Winning back so much personal time, so much high energy to then win back more and more high energy time.
I do remember one of the conversations we were having, and you told me you were going to spend some time with your family and all that. And I thought that was, it wasn't like you are taking out time to spend with your family, and that was very important, when I heard that, when you said to me, because you could have just been there and then still chatting with me, but you told me I'm going to spend time with my family. So that was really good to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I pick up my daughter from school at 2 on Thursday and Fridays. Like I will add this to your guys' dreams. And I say this not to impress you, but to impress upon you the like what can happen here is I work 1 hour a week on that $10 million store right now because my team is so good. I just had a call with her and we talk once a week, and it's usually not even about business. We talk about mindset. How's your family doing? What are your mindset wins this week? And I'm just like, I'm so grateful for you, Lou, for keeping my business going. And she's interested in the business growing too. And yeah, I could spend all week with my family if I want to. And that's the true goal of being an entrepreneur. I happen to set major goals this year. So I am working a lot right now, mostly related to my community. But the goal is always to be able to spend time with family. There's no reason to go through entrepreneurship if that's not part of your dreams.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So we've got another question here, and Rose Marie says, what categories are you selling?
We started out like primarily shoes, a little bit of clothing. I think we're down to like 30-40% of that. But that's still probably our primary. We do electronics, health and beauty, grocery. I mean, what I would say about categories, you can make money in every category. They're just a different risk profile. So shoes, you got to buy really large ROI. You got to make a lot on each shoe because there's so many returns. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do shoes. It just means that you're going to get a lot of returns and you got to account for that. If you do grocery, there's a very small profit, but there's almost no returns. So in a way, it's easier. What I would say about categories is and I really mean this, go with your gut. Do not try to figure out like, I should do this category because it's the best thing to do right now. Go with what you don't mind shopping. The reason I landed on shoes is I was in Marshall's, in the kitchenware aisle. I was lasting a couple. I'm like, I don't like being in the kitchenware aisle. And, I've tried Walmart. I don't really like being in Walmart's. And I'm like at the shoe outlets, and I'm like, this isn't too bad. I can hang out with these people. Like I like looking at shoes. That's how I picked shoes. And that's super important because you have longevity. You'll stay out longer. You'll be happier with what you're doing. That's a complete, not just about feeling good. That's totally a cutthroat advantage. You're going to feel better, so you're going to last longer. You're going to last longer than your competition. So I'll say every category can make money. Pick the ones you like, because that's going to let you spend more time and you're going to get better at them over time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And Nina says, I've made about $700 profit this far. How can I flip this into $1,700? She wants to double it, basically.
She wants to double the size of her store or double the profits with
So
the same.
She says she's made $700 in profit so far. So she's a new seller, and she's made $700 profits. So she says, how can I flip this into $1,700?
Okay, so if you're just trying to flip it for $1,000, I'll give you a business idea right now. No, I mean, here's a business idea that I think people are sleeping on. Go to like a rich neighborhood, knock on doors, and open up a consignment store. Say, I'm going to take your 10, give me 10 items in your house. I'm going to sell them locally, sell them on eBay, whatever, and I'll give you half the profit. You have no risk. Anyway, if you just want to make $1,000. For your Amazon store, I'm not laughing. I'm like waiting for somebody to do this. It's consignment. There's so much. I have like, I got a $200 Google Nest or whatever. I don't have time to sell that. Like, I need somebody to come scoop it up and, give me something for it. Anyway.
That's actually a good business idea.
Yeah. There's so many ideas like that actually are very doable, but I wouldn't look at, so when this is going to be interesting. So my teacher always taught me, we're looking at this as a full-on business. We're not looking at a side hustle. We're not looking at it to make $1,000 extra bucks. So I teach it differently. So and I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. It's just not the way I do it. I'm looking at how can I build a business? And that's why my students are like, you see bigger bars. So playing on Amazon with like, 4,000 is enough. 47 is enough to get your hands dirty. That's really important in the beginning. Try a bunch of different products, buy one, sell it, watch the prices, look at the keepas, get good at buying. You're making so much money there in the future because you're understanding how to buy. That's your most important skill in Amazon. That's always your most important edge. But I don't believe in flipping your way to victory. We all wanted to, wake up and, get out of corporate and with no debt, get rich and buy our house in cash. And I'm here to tell you, in Amazon, that's not going to happen. There's seasons, like I remember pool season 2 years ago, people flipped really well. They you could make like 500% profit, like buy $300 pool and sell it for $2,000 and then flip FBM. But I never was taught that. I actually had to watch all that and watch them make all that money. And I just focused on how can I build my big shoe business. And I believe once you've gotten your hands dirty and you've gotten a level of success and you know that you're getting good leads and you have more leads to buy than you have money, it's time to take on some money. Like take on some 0% credit cards or take on a loan. And this is a little controversial. It's tough to tell people to go into debt or take on credit because if someone's not good at managing their money, that could be very bad for them. But if your goal is to buy inventory and you're in a business that 8 out of 10 of the things you buy make you money, and then the 9 out of 10 breaks even and the 1 out of 10 loses you money, you have a pretty good thing going on, and you can take on some money to finance that thing. So my business, like I have like, I don't know, we'll have like 550,000 in inventory right now. I have a $550,000 loan. The entire business is financed. I have all that in credit or credit lines or loans. So I will say I want to keep going with this because even the people that start with a good amount of money, 20, 30 grand, they're eventually going to hit a wall where they need some capital unless they're trying to flip their way. And again, that takes too long in my eyes. And you shouldn't do it that way because if you have good leads to buy that can make you money, if you're making 100% on the money that you put in, you can take a loan that costs you 10% a year. Everybody hits the wall where they say, I don't have enough capital to grow this. And a lot of times it is actually in here. There are ways to get capital. There's 0% cards. There's SBA loans at your local credit union. There are services online that take a little too high percentage. There's private funding. If you go to somebody in your family and friends, and this is very, one thing about opening a business is you don't want to tell anybody that isn't like encouraging, because that can detract you. But if you have someone that's encouraging in your life and you present them, look, this is what I'm making on this money, and I have all these other leads to buy. And here's a beautiful presentation on exactly how it's going, and here's my goals. People with money want to have a horse in the race, in the Amazon race. They want to say, look, I helped out Sita here. I gave her a little bit of money. We worked a deal where I'm going to make some profit, or I just got a high interest loan, and I get to like feel I have a piece in this. So a lot of this needing capital is actually a mental thing. There's money everywhere. There's trillions of dollars looking to find a home, looking to find an opportunity. So that's my answer to your question. How can I make $1,000 more bucks? That's not how I teach it.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. But I do agree there's money everywhere, and there are actually people who have money who are looking for where to invest this money. I do agree with that, because I do know, that people do have money to give out. So let's get back to some. So we've got Lee here. Lee says, what was your starting capital, and how much capital was added to the business along the way? Yeah.
Yeah, good question.
I know you talked about money already, but you wanted to know what was the starting capital. Well, he's new. I know him personally. He's new. For
sure. That's a really good question. So Paul told me he wants me with 10 to 15 grand to start. I said, okay. I said, I'm basically, I had some money in the bank. I was like, I'm willing to like lose 30 grand on this essentially. Like if this goes completely wrong, worst case scenario, I can get 30 grand in. So I probably was a little more than most people. A lot of people start with like 10. 10's perfect. 7's fine. You're getting close to 4 or 5. Like we want to just, again, you want to make sure you get your hands dirty. That's the part of the initial. You want to make sure you get lots of products, get things moving, figure out prep. You do not want to start with $500, in my opinion, because then you buy something, you have to wait. You have to wait to get the money back. So your brain isn't putting all the pieces together and getting better and better. We learn by immersion, constantly learning more of it. But what happened is,
so do you think that your experience in trading, where there's a lot of risk, just gave you that confidence to put 30 grand?
Yeah. So Amazon? Well, no, I had some money in the bank because, I was 30 years old. I did have corporate jobs. Like I actually was lucky that my parents, I will say my parents did help me with college. I had I had some money in the bank. I also did have a baby on the way. So this wasn't like money I could lose, so it wasn't the perfect situation. But let me tell you what happened. So I ended up probably put in 10 to 15 and started getting confidence, started maybe flipping a little bit. And then once I realized a month 4 to 6, and I had some credit cards too. So I had the 10 to 15 in cash, and I had some credit that was able to get me going. But around month 4, when I found those shoe outlets and I was like, I'm making money here. This is working. I opened up like 10 0% APR credit cards. That's how I got my capital stack. Wow. I just kept open because 0% interest for 18 months. I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, this is going to tank my credit, but I'm going to get 200 grand that I think I'm making 100% on minimum, maybe 200% on for a year. And I have to pay it back in 18 months at 0%. So I have to break even in 18 months. And I'm making, so it was actually a pretty easy decision, and it did tank my credit a bit, but the credit comes back once you pay it off. It takes like a month. So that's what I did. And I started just, opening up more and more and more. And as long as we could buy more profitable leads, and I also brought in friends. I said, look, I'll take on 50 grand, 100 grand, and I'll pay you profits of, just this stack of inventory. That was kind of a pain to figure out the profit, but I was taking on money. And I think one of the key things that I've from everything you said is having a mentor, because if you didn't have a mentor, you probably wouldn't have the clear steps to take to be able to go invest all this money and do all these things that you did at the beginning. I think having a mentor to guide you. Yeah, one thing I can do with my high ticket people is we have, and Paul didn't tell me go open a bunch of 0% cards, but if I said, hey, I'm going to take on some money, and he looks at the stuff I'm buying, he can say, yes, that's like, he can give you a pat on the back, say, I believe in you. If you don't have that, it's kind of, it's scary out there. But what I do with my students on the mid-tick of the accelerator, we share KPIs, key performance indicators. So I can see with a glance if their store is selling pretty fast and if they're making enough money. Like, it's just two numbers. It's basically like your sales versus your average inventory. We won't get into them, but sales versus average inventory and the cost of your products versus your sales. And I can look at it and say, this is a pretty healthy store. And if this person wants to take on capital, I can like give them the thumbs up. And I can also look at it and say, hey, this is looking slow and you're not making enough. I think you need to improve your buying before you decide to grow.
Wow. Okay. So Aaron here says, what trends do you see emerging in Amazon Marketplace, and how are you adapting your business to stay ahead?
Good question. What trends are we seeing in Amazon? I mean, I feel like last year, well, at least last year was very difficult for my company because we grew. Last year we basically identified we grew way too fast. We were buying stuff for way too not good enough profit, and we had to improve internally. Like when I hit 10 million first, I had 25 employees. We got a little crazy, and we're buying things for $5 ROI, but not even taking into account the returns, and we were actually buying things at a loss. And we had to have a long downsize. We downsized last year to 12 employees and got super clean, got rid of all the junk inventory. And now we're very critical of our buys, and we're totally like, it's so good to see like all the work put in last year, working this year. I wouldn't say we think about trends. The only thing we think about is 2020 and 2021, or 2021 was like the COVID time, and we had this crazy boom in Amazon. So that's why I got to that trap. I was like, there's profit like hand over fist to be made. But we look at it now, it's like we want to be pinpoint. We want to buy small amounts of things. We don't want to get ourselves into a jam. We don't want to buy 50 of an item and take a big risk. So I prefer to keep a smaller, tighter, safer store. For me, that's like, I don't care if we land at 5 million this year, if we're buying really good profit. I don't need to land at 10 million. I don't want a $10 million store that's breaking even. So didn't really answer the question, but like, we're not a trend followers, my personal store. If I see a trend, somebody tips it off, like we might consider it, but we buy shoes, we look for different types of sites to buy on those shoes. There's thousands of stores to buy from. There's way more than you think. You don't have to just buy from the big stores. You can call up these smaller, medium stores, and everybody has an inventory problem. Inventory arbitrage is never going away. It could be more profitable on Walmart eventually. It could get more. I don't think that's the case right now. But every store I have an inventory problem, which means I have fast selling stuff that we got to, keep an eye on and make sure we're selling it for the highest profit. We have our medium stuff. And then we have stuff that takes 90 days and hasn't sold, and we got to get rid of it. We can't spend all our resources trying to sell it at the perfect price. So we got to cut our price. So someone might see that and realize they cut it too low, and I can make profit by buying this. So Dick's Sporting Goods has this problem. Walmart has this problem. Like every inventory business, big or small, has this problem. So that's kind of my eyes that there's always some sort of opportunity if you're looking. And I told you my categories. We're very straight shooting with what we're buying.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tim. So while I'm scanning through this, you haven't had any drink. Have a drink. You've been talking. Have a drink. So here, this Abdul, I think I pronounced his name well, and he says, how can a stable supply chain be established? So he says virtually.
So like basically how can all my employees are virtual for the most part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll try to give a peek into how it works. I mean, we have a Discord group that I have like my team in, so 12 of us in there. We have prep centers that, we buy products on websites. So we do online arbitrage primarily now. Buy products on websites. It ships to our prep centers. We buy on United States websites. It ships to tax-free prep centers in the United States. we have our remote employees on WhatsApp chats with those prep centers so they can talk about the inventory, make sure it's all getting prepped and inputted properly. And then, yeah, we have people on our team that are searching for products. We have a person on our team that is doing the checkout, that they're actually connected to my laptop in the US via TeamViewer or any desk. And so they look like me when they're buying from Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart. That makes them, because these sites mainly just want to prevent fraud. So
Yeah.
that looks like I'm just a normal person buying. That's the primary thing. That stores care more about that than bulk buying. Then bulk buying is the next thing. So yeah, we have a team of people looking for products. We have somebody checking out the products. They go to the prep center, put them into Amazon. We have a repricing department, people that do the repricing, and somebody in charge of it also. We have an eBay store, a couple other things. So that's, I guess, our chain.
It's a lot. It sounds like a very large team. I mean, for 10 million, yeah.
It's 12 people. It's, it's 6 people looking for products, a couple people talking to the prep centers, one person in charge of the repricing, one person in charge of everything. It seems like a lot. Yeah. I mean, your main goal for most of you, I assume, is you want to get good at buying. Like, you want to get good at this and start growing. And then it's really important to hire really well and bring on a really smart person and teach them everything you know. Try to get that first person nailed down. Because after you have that first person that thinks like you, they can help you hire the next person. They can help you train the next person. So it actually just like happens faster than you think. But that first 1 or 2 people are super important to get started.
Okay, so someone asked, he says, is it worth it?
Worth it.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting one. It says, is it worth it? Like, getting
you got to know yourself. For me, 1,000% worth it, because my values are freedom, and I've learned more about it. I love inspiring and coaching and managing teams. I didn't know that before I started this. I know a lot of your values are freedom, but you got to make sure, security, security with a job is not necessarily super secure anymore. But, especially if you value watching lots of Netflix, if you value if you don't want to give it your all for 6 months into something, because that's all it can take. If you give your all to something and you are just hair on fire working, you can really build enough momentum in 6 months where you're a new person. But if you don't want to do that kind of thing, it's not for everybody. Trust me, like, the more people I meet, like, from college that I haven't talked to in 10 years, like, they look at me and they're like, what the heck happened? I don't know who this person is. But for me, it's totally worth it. I can, like I said before, my goal is to be able to stop. My companies run themselves. I can hang out with my kid. Like, I can do anything I want the rest of my life. And what did it take me? 2-3 years of very, very hard work. And when I say very hard work, it was way more fun to me than working at a corporation. That's me. There's ups and downs. There's there's crazy, but I'll tell you right now, I had this is part of being human. We call it the terror barrier. I had the most fear I've had in years last night and this morning about a new business decision I just made. That doesn't always go, fear doesn't go away. So I had to use my mindset material and get myself out of it, and boom, I busted through it. The best way through fear is through. And that happens. But let me ask you this. And this is from Think and Grow Rich. There's a quote, and I want you to think about this. I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to get the point across. No more effort is required to live a life of poverty and suffering than it is to live one striving towards a worthy goal. So he's saying that there's actually no more effort, because if you really think about it, think about your life when you had nothing to do, and you're just watching TV all the time. You're still exerting effort. You're still having all these thoughts, am I doing, you're still feeling fear. You're going to your corporate job, you have some good weeks, but sometimes you're like, man, this isn't great. There's office politics. You're still exerting a lot of effort. So what we're asking you to do here is to set a goal, get it aligned with your heart. Say, I want this. This is more than I think I can do. This is exciting. This would change my life. Get inspired and get going towards it. And for me, it feels like less effort once I'm on that journey compared to sitting in a corporate job I don't like around people I don't like. So for me, 1,000% worth the effort. But if you're in a corporate job where you like your little community, you like your routine, you're making a good enough money to feed your family, then it might not be worth it for you. It's not for everybody.
Okay, so I've got Stacy here saying, can you adopt me?
I'm not at that level yet, but maybe eventually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to be adopted, but yes, honestly, it's been amazing interviewing you and all the questions. A lot of the questions that were here, you already answered them while you were, sharing. So I think for me, I want to say, you've given a lot of advice, but what's the one thing that the Amazon sellers can go right now and start to implement on their business right now, and then they'll be able to see, some traction in their business?
Yeah. So the first thing I have to say is, I can send my week one. We can send my week one material to your whole group if you want, and so they can do the goal card. That is number one. That's going to solve 50% of your entire life if you take this seriously, because you're going to be inspired. You're going to be heading towards your goal. And to apply this to Amazon, once you get inspired, that should take you a whole week. You should be watching my video every week and really thinking about your goal and really ingraining it with your heart. So that's going to solve a lot of your problems. Once you have solved that, just make sure you have a plan. So if your goal is to build your Amazon store, well, the same way I did my timesheet and I realized this isn't heading towards my goal, there's no time going towards the important things, which are sourcing. Make yourself a simple plan, not a complicated plan. If my goal is I want $5,000 in sales this month, that means I got to buy $2,500, $2,500. That means I got to buy approximately $100 in product a day. So what's my best plan to get there? Well, I should probably spend about 3 hours a day sourcing product, not just looking around for secrets and watching videos and asking this person and wondering why you're doing this. No, 3 hours per day to sourcing. And then you've checked your box and you can do whatever you want the rest of the day. So how many of you have that simple plan towards your goal? And I would say, get your goal card, make your simple plan, 3 hours per day sourcing, whatever it is for you. It might be, don't give yourself too much if it's the beginning, 1.5 hours sourcing for the first week, 2 hours the next week, 3 hours the next week, and go execute that plan and see what happens when you actually set a goal and a plan and start doing it.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much. I've got just one last question. So I just came in. How many ASINs have you got running? Active ASINs?
We're actually lower than we used to be. I think we got like 1,800, but we were up to like 8,000 at one point. We've gotten a lot. We're operating right now as like a 3 or 4 million, but it's an exponential process. Like we like to peak in December, so we'll be operating at 6-7 million very soon. We have a giant chunk of shoes that we just bought from, we're mostly online arbitrage, but occasionally we get in touch with a distributor that's got a lot of shoes to sell us. So
we've got Emma. Emma here is saying, amazing chat. She's loving it. And she says, Soros has got a great mindset, which is very infectious. Go card. Yeah, it's a great idea. So
I'm telling you, the moment I started doing Amazon, I just couldn't stop talking about it. Like, I was like, I can't believe that you can make money flipping products. Like, it was blowing my mind. And that excitement has not really waned, because as I've improved as a business owner, just new things happen all the time. Oh my God, like I inspired my team, my first remote employee who used to just do a spreadsheet task with me. And now he's in China, like looking for suppliers, like for my new private label store. He's not shy anymore. He's traveling on his own. I'm like, I got to inspire this person. So like that has really made it worth it. There's so much cool stuff you get out of this if you hit it hard. If you hit it hard in the beginning. I'm still hitting it hard.
Okay. So Soros, I don't want to keep you so long because I know you've got loads and lots and lots of things to do, and I'm really grateful to you to giving me this time and giving the audience this time and sharing all the things you've shared with us. I think I may bring you back at some point. But before I let you go, how can the audience find you? How can the community find you?
Sure. So Soros Empire Instagram, I probably post the most. I'm starting to come out once a week on Soros Empire YouTube. So those will be the longer form, and hopefully everything you need to know about Amazon. I'm trying to get as much free information out as possible. If you go on Soros Empire Instagram, you'll see in my bio, arbitrageempire.io. That's my community. It is 150 a month, or we have a yearly fee too. I don't want anyone, like, I don't need that money. I want, like, it's more of a stamp approval that you're committing to it. So if it doesn't work for you, if you want to get in there and just do the mindset work, check out the community, and it's not for you or for whatever reason, just let me know. I don't mind refunding the money. So if you're interested in this stuff, yeah. And also, see, I'm open to sending that week one material to your group.
Yes,
if they want it.
yes. I did catch that. I'm going to see that they get it. Thank you very, very much. Honestly, I'm more of a very visual, goal setting kind of person, but connecting with you 2 weeks now, a lot of things shift for me. And, I've been reading my goal card, like, actively every day. I read it in between the day. I read it, like, every time it's like I'm hitting a roadblock. I get my goal card and I read it to keep me focused, so that I'm achieving the goal. And then I upped my goal also. So I like to up my goals, and I just upped
Nice.
it. Yes. I've increased my goal. So I'm working hard now. Should I say it? I put it on Twitter. Actually. So I'm working towards 1 million. I've never really been, like, I don't like to announce my money publicly, but I did tweet it. So when I was going through the content in your community, and I got to the bit where you have to tweet your goal.
Yeah.
And I did that. So it was in dollars, and I changed it to 1 million. I think it was even like something lower. So I think it was like 100K or something like that you put in your community. And I said, no, I'm going to push myself to 1 million. So
I love it. Why not? It excites you. It scares you. It should scare you a little bit. Like, that is going to pull, that is what's going to cause the true growth. I want that. Like, connect with your desire. What does that mean? That means freedom. That means security. It means all these things. We need that to get, like, excited for business.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to bring you back. We're still talking anyway, and I'm sure that we're going to be doing a lot more things together. Oh, thank you so much for your time. And I know you've given us last word, but is there any other last word before we go?
I just really appreciate you having me on. It's been just as enjoyable for me. Looking forward to coming on next time. And I guess I'll just give the last word that's on my knuckles. It's harvest the good, forgive the rest. It's just really important to just keep focusing on what's good, what you want. And when you read that goal card, when you set that goal, what you want to do is not just read it. You want to feel the feelings of being that person. Who is Sita when she has that 1 million? What happened to her? And assume that you already have that now, because you do.
I do. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. And God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Sita.